So does anyone remember that game I played before the Chicago Open where excuse me, cut that part out. In that tournament where I lost a bunch of rating points and I hit what ended up being my bottom, so 1914, where I lost to that guy in this opening, where I played e6 and he took. Does anyone remember that? I don't know how the hell this position works or how these structured. I am not smart enough to figure this out, and I haven't put in enough work to figure it out either. So I ended up paired against this guy again, the same guy, but I kind of forgot the game. So I showed up, he was late again, and then it started out the same way, and then he played bishop b5, and I was like, oh fuck, I remember now. He's gonna take on c6, and he knows a lot of theory. He's like 1700, but he knows theory. And I did know this guy, so I didn't have the chance to not know who I was playing because I've played him before. That's the thing. Like, eventually you know everybody, but I made like a little bit of a pivot, like a last minute pivot, because I still haven't really looked at this. Eventually, I think I'm gonna come up with some other move order or just play something else. I don't know. Maybe not e6 here, something else. But I thought for a while, and I was like. He was probably metagaming that I looked up the opening, and so I was sitting there and I was like, fuck, I can't play e6. All right, I guess I have to play like chess here. And so I like erased my mind from thinking this is a Rosalimo, or this was going to be a clash. I didn't think of it like that. It's chess 960, and this is the chess position. What's the most logical move here? And I just went g6, because I need to castle. And I need to develop my bishop. And the only other way to do that is e6, which I'm not going to play. So I went g6. We played g6 and 5. Opponent plays bishop takes c6 very quickly. Again, he knows theory. B takes c6, because side to center. I don't know. I don't know what the opening move was. I thought it was like very likely that you're supposed to take with the d pawn, just because that's something that happens, because the bishop can get out now. But again, I'm like trying to play less common moves. Apparently g6 is the main move here, which I didn't know. I thought it would be rarer. Shows what I know. I tried to get him out of here. He played the absolute main line. Bishop takes c6. Again, I kind of had a feeling both moves are good, but d takes c6 is probably what's played more. So I played b takes c6, and this was a correct guess. Opponent plays d4, and this is a Sicilian. So like, you know, normally you're like, oh, you take without thinking. But if I take here, queen takes d4 with a little eye on my rook here, and there's a horse to go here. The queen is only bad. It's only bad to bring the queen out early if it can get kicked around. Again, like, something's only weak if it can be exploited. If it can't be exploited, no matter how bad it looks, it's not weak. So this looks like Garbo, because I'd have to play like f6 here. Knight f6 just feels wrong because of e5. And I feel like I've lost this way before when I was like 12. Because this seems like a move I would have played when I was 12. So I don't take. I'm just like, I have to castle. So I played bishop g7, which again, apparently is the main move. I'm trying to be creative and sacrifice stuff. But if I accidentally play the best move again, or the main theory move at least. Opponent plays d takes c5, and this is the first place where I played not the main move. It's kind of funny because to me, this was the first time where I was like, this has got to be like, if this is a position he knows, this is probably what's played. Like, apparently queen a5 is the main move here, which makes sense. Like, you're trying to get the pawn back. But I didn't see like the rush in that. I just thought like, it's a pawn. I don't value pawns. So I played bishop a6, which to me is like, of course, he gave me his light squared bishop. He doesn't have a light squared bishop. I have a light squared bishop. The way to make up for being down a pawn is piece activity. Now, not only activating my own pieces, but not letting my opponent's pieces activate, aka not letting him castle. So bishop a6, I thought was the most logical move. And it's by computer standards, it's about as good as the main move. But it is played only in 5% of games in the Masters database. So again, I play bishop a6 here, and this is the first time my opponent started to think, which I thought was really odd. Because there's no way that this isn't theory. I think after the game he told me, or maybe he was in the Twitch chat actually, he told me he couldn't remember theory here. And that's like why he lost the game. And I was like, well, I don't know. Bishop a6 is, what else would I play here? So it's sort of a fortunate thing where you just sort of play chess, and then if you accidentally play the main line the whole time and then you slip up in a way that's common, they'll get you. You might lose. But if you're just playing logical moves, then it should be... I didn't do anything wrong. I have to keep telling myself sometimes, I didn't do anything wrong. There's no way I'm worse here. So I need to relax, and I need to just play the position. But yeah, I go bishop a6, and he starts to think. This is not the right score sheet. Yes, this one. I've been spending time almost every move, so I'm down to 85 minutes. Right now my opponent has 92, so he gained 2 minutes. That's how fast he's playing. And he showed up late, and he still gained 2 minutes. Shows how quickly he played all these moves. And then after bishop h6, he thinks for 5 minutes, and he plays the move c3, which is a logical move because it helps him retain the pawn, because queen a5 check is no longer a check or a fork, and b4 will happen if I play queen a5, which is one of my main considerations anyway, by the way, because if b4, maybe I go queen b5, and this looks like semi-interesting, but then like what happens after a4, maybe queen c4, no one really knows what's going on here. I'm attacking this pawn, he probably has to go here. He can't move this knight because then the c pawn hangs. Actually, even if he plays knight d2, maybe I'll take. But he goes rook b1, and this is a huge threat. So this doesn't look good. This all looked too complicated for me, and it looked also exactly what he wanted. So I don't really give a shit about gaining that pawn back. It's a double pawn. It's not doing much for me. What I want to do in this position, again, is to increase my activity while not allowing him to. So I played what I'm going to give an interesting move here. Another cool shapes and colors move that, like, I knew couldn't be the best move. I knew it couldn't be the best. I'm not trying to play the best moves. You know, the best moves are probably like something to do with d5 or queen a5 or knight f6, you know, or something that gets castled. Or some other thing. I don't know. So, yes, so rook b8 is one of my top candidate moves. Why is rook b8 so good and aligns with my ideals? Ideals? Is that a word? Because it discourages the dark squared bishop from developing because the b2 pawn needs to be babysat now. Ideally, he would love to be able to move the bishop, then the knight, and then all the pieces get developed. But in this case, he still can't castle. If he wants to develop a piece, knight d2, then the bishop is like nearly, I mean, he's entombed. It's not like a big deal or anything, but it's getting harder and harder for him. So, but what I didn't like about this move is it only really does that. It doesn't do any more than that. I wanted to think a little bit further than that. So like, eventually I have to castle, I have to move this knight. If I play rook b8, I'm not helping myself play that or develop my pieces. I'm only discouraging him from developing. I want to do both. If I play knight f6 here, he goes e5, and I can't like play knight g4. First of all, because queen a4 check is a fork ski, which is, you know, like what? But you know, even if I'm not doing that, I don't know. This just feels cramped and weird. So I want to kind of discourage e5 in order to be able to play knight f6 and castle, but also discourage him from developing. So I played the move queen to b8, which I think is a cool move, because it does everything that rook b8 does, except it also eyes the f4 square in the future. it eyes the e5 square. Like, this pawn could easily become overextended. The only thing that it's like makes it sort of bad is that the rook can't move, but the thing is the queen's not going to stay on b8 forever. The queen also has access to b5 now, etc., etc. So queen b8 is another one of my moves where it's possible he's still in theory, and he just spent those 5 minutes remembering that c3 is the best move. So I'm still in the mode of not playing the best move, but playing something that is chess. So that's queen b8 is chess. Okay, so how long did he think here? He thought for 11 minutes now. So we're really, like, queen b8 really threw him off. And it wasn't really that much worse than rook b8. He thinks for 11 minutes. He plays the move a4, which is, you know, not a good move, apparently, by the computer. I thought it was reasonable, very reasonable, because it, you know, keeps the b5 square, the queen away from the b5 square. And maybe he'll play b4. But the drawbacks is that it kind of weakens a lot of light squares, which is the, you know, he doesn't have a light square bishop and I do. How does white castle, by the way? Well, hopefully he doesn't. I don't want him to castle. The other thing about a4 is that now he can't play the move a3, for example. So, like, if he plays c4 in order to castle, then b4 is a permanent weakness. And not only that, c5 is just like a limb that's being cut off from the rest. Like, I can play queen b4 and take the pawn, for example. So a4, I'm just like not that worried about. I just play knight f6 because it's time to play knight f6. Another reason a4 was actually surprisingly bad was because a4 is now not a square that is available for the queen. So after a line like e5, now I can actually play knight g4 because queen a4 does not exist. The pawn is attacked 3 times, only defended once, and so the pawn will fall, c-pawn will fall, and then I have 2 bishops in a like, kind of an open position, and it's all working out very nicely for me. Not that I did anything great, but, like, I'm happy. I was really happy here. Anyways, amazing analysis. Brain hurts when I try to follow along. a5, baiting a5, so e5 is bad. Baiting a4. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on here, but that is a really nice bonus to all this. But I generally, like, this diagonal just felt important to me because, like, f4 is on this diagonal, e5 on this diagonal, c7 felt like an important square for whatever reason to me. So queen b8 is one of my favorite moves they played in the tournament, probably, just from, like, for fun sake. So opponent goes knight b to d2 because he's kind of running out of things to do. Because, again, he can't castle. He can't move his bishop. Where's the queen gonna go? I guess c2 or something. Whatever. But then, woo, I castle. So you're seeing that my development is increasing rapidly, and his is not. It's just kind of staying at the same level. My opponent played kind of a suspicious move here. He plays rook a3. What's the point of rook a3, would we say? Computer wanted to play queen a4 instead of a4. Yeah, that makes sense because of all the things that we said. We should probably go back and look at that, honestly, because that does sound interesting. So you say computer wants queen a4. Probably why he didn't like this is maybe he just gets kicked away or something. But then my bishop is on a worse square. He got to play queen c2 for free. Queen b5 doesn't exist anymore, and this file is closed. So this actually makes a lot of sense. You bait bishop b5. And otherwise, probably I would go queen b7 and then say, like, haha. But really, probably I'm a little bit worse here. So that's a good point, though. So let's go back to rook a3. Hello, Trisha set. Yeah, his idea is simple. It's to take the b file back. But you know what? You know what's worth more than a queen? There's only one thing. Well, one individual thing. You could say, like, 2 rooks. Well, yeah, I mean, like, but he's in kind of a tough situation. Like, No, it's not. It's kind of the first game we played, but I was him, where I just had fucked up pieces and fucked up pawns, and it was hard to find moves. He's kind of in that situation right now. Like his moves, the good moves are not supernatural. Supernatural. So I played knight h5 because this is a part of my plan anyways. e5 never got to happen. I want to play knight f4. If he plays g3, we don't even need to talk about how disgusting that is. And my idea is if he plays rook b3, I just go knight f4 anyways. And if he takes my queen, this is checkmate. So he doesn't play rook b3. But his king is starting to feel a little bit shaky here. Opponent plays the move c4, which is apparently what he has to do, but I was like, oh, well, now I just go queen b4 and I take the pawn. And it's at this point where I'm starting to relax a little, because when you're playing these kind of weird moves to get people out of what they know, you are going to be worse. You are going to be, like, you're giving a lot up. But it was at this point where I'm gaining the pawn back and I have the bishop pair. He does get to castle, but I gained the pawn back. So there's no way I'm worse now. Maybe it's equal, but equalizing with black is definitely what you want. So queen b4, and I'm happy. I'm chilling. Queen c2 is played. And I played queen takes c5. I should play knight f4 here anyways. And if he castles, I guess knight e2 check. And then I just take the bishop and I say a bishop pair is better than a knight apple. And yeah, like that's the super long-term way to play it. I was in kind of an aggressive mood, I think. I wanted to keep the knight. But I play queen takes c5. My position is still very good. Now he castles, and now it's pin city. This pawn is pinned this way and this way. Those are the only ways. So more of a pin town, but I go with d5. Kind of what feels like a very natural move to put a pawn in the center. Sometimes if he lets me, I'll just play e5 and d4, and I'll say pass pawn, and then claim that I'm doing well. Again, like knight f4 is always something he has to watch out for. So d5, b3, and because he needs to develop, I suppose. So this is all a little bit more solid now, but I just continued with e5. Rook a2, not rook a1. He could have played rook a1 because I did close this diagonal. That's spoilers. This is the threat, though. This is the subtle threat. I wasn't really super concerned with this. I just moved it out of the way. I moved it to the C file in anticipation of something opening there, but honestly, oops, spoilers. Close your eyes. Hold on. Thanks for the 62 months, Platinum. Sorry about that. Now you know the results of the game. Rook c8 is a little bit too over-prepared, but yeah, better would be like e8 or d8 probably, I guess. You saw nothing? Good. Alright. Bishop a3, and queen b6, what else? c5. This made no sense, actually, because like I kind of wanted to move the queen to this diagonal anyways, or at least to be able to play this, so I'm pretty happy. My queen's on a good square now. The rook on f1 is attacked. Yoink. So he has to move his rook. Now we go knight f4. G3 would be like, you know, not so good because of the light squares. I'm not sure exactly what I do here. It's not a position I feel I have to think super concretely about, just because I feel like, I guess knight d3. Maybe he goes rook e3 here, honestly. Because then my horse sees a little bit sus. Rook e3, then f5, so I have forks. I don't know, I didn't think too deeply about all this. G3 just looked horrendous, so I was like, go ahead and play it if you want. G didn't. He took here. Alright, here's another thing to think about for you people in the chat. What do you take back with? What are we recapturing with? And why? Queen? No pass pawns for white. Yeah, I mean, it's like certainly possible that I lose if I take with the pawn and he gets a pawn storm going. It's absolutely possible. You could also take with the knight, but that's backwards, so we don't go backwards. So we take with the queen. And I'm already thinking about the g2 square in the sense of checkmate. Horsey's pinned now. So I'm already looking for tactics. I'm ready. My opponent goes knight to c4. And I start thinking a little bit long term. I'm not... Maybe this isn't that big of a deal to allow, but I just don't want to allow it. I just don't want to deal with it. Taking with the queen, I think, would be pretty... Like, this is just... Should be a winning endgame for me eventually. His pawns are just too messed up. It's kind of all I thought. It's like good enough. So he takes with the pawn, and I play a move that is setting up an idea. So I go queen d7 again. Huge threat. If white does nothing, queen g4 wins a piece. Because the only way to defend g2 is playing g3, which then hangs the knight. I realize now that he can take this, but like, come on, you know, like I've gotta checkmate him somehow. You like queen g4, g3 here? No, that doesn't make any sense. Well, I thought it was good. And that's all that matters. There's a second threat. But I think this is what he was trying to play against. So, opponent plays the move bishop c1, which I thought was a blunder. And his idea is if I play queen g4, he'll just take my knight. So it's black to play and win. It's not that winning, actually, but it's black to play and there's a tactic. Win is a little bit dramatic, but... Okay, I'll just say black to play and play the best move that you can. First American president. Knight takes g2. Bam! And the sick thing is that after king takes g2, queen g4... Thanks for the 10 gift subs, Merlin. Amazing. 10 gift subs for knight takes g2. He can't block. And he just has no square to defend the knight, so I win a pawn. Interestingly, he should not take. Can you find the only saving move for white? I didn't even, like, stop to think that there might be a saving move here. It just looks so devastating to me. It's kind of crazy, and by not, like, you're still going to be a lot worse, but, yes, Merry Christmas. Appreciate it. It's going to be rook e5. What is your obsession with rook e5, you people in the chat? This is a big threat, is it not? Am I just, like, insane? I don't fully understand what the computer is talking about, if I'm being honest. Yeah, so queen d1 here saves it all, because I can't take the rook, because he takes my queen. If I play queen g4, there's h3. which I didn't see until you said it, but you're right. Because if I play queen takes h3, now there's knight g5. And like somehow I'm like not hanging on here, and I don't have, like, it's the opposite situation where I don't have a square where I can defend the knight. This is defended, so there's like no counter threat I can make. The queen is somehow defending b3, so I can't like get a tempo here. And just nothing works. And so white would be winning if I did this. So after queen d1, black should play queen takes d1, rook takes d1, and then say, haha, I grabbed a pawn. And then it's like -1 for black because they're up a pawn. Neither of us saw any of this. A little insight into the, vlog side of things, something that was going on. This game ended up being like really long in one of the last games of this round. And the thermostat was broken. So like whatever it was set on, it was set on. And so it was freaking freezing, and there was a vent right above our board. I didn't have like a code or anything. I was just like, I hate to make excuses, but I think that my conversion of this game was like truly affected by it, because it was so cold that I had to get up and like go sit somewhere else when it wasn't my turn, and I just wanted the game to be over. You'll notice that on the third day, I wore like a sweater and a jacket and a hat, but of course, that day it was fixed, so I was too warm. But that's your insight. All right, so king takes g2, queen g4 check, king f1, take the horse, and then he goes back to g1. And I'm like, okay. And he goes king h1. Rook d8, of course, because rooks belong on open files. No thought behind that move aside from that. Rook a3, and he wants to swing over and he wants to get me. But if he wants to get me, he's going to have to let me get him first. So I attack c4, which makes him play rook c3, and then he's got a nice battery pointing towards a rock. So it's looking good. Rook d8, f3, queen h4, attacking the rook, rook g1. Again, the reason I start to speed through moves, it's not because I'm winning and it's not interesting, it's because we're also getting close to the end of the game. Neither of us are thinking quite as much, so I don't have as much to tell you about, because each move like a lot less thought went into it. So sometimes I would play a move in 30 seconds and the thought is, my queen's attacked. And that was the thought behind the move. So I go bishop h6. And what's the point of bishop h6? Trading. More importantly, if a rook gets to d2, like we saw in the spoilers, the game is over. So takes, queen e2. And here's where I made my final kind of mistake. I was just like rushing. I wanted the game to be over. And I'm really disappointed with myself for this move. And I had to really lock back in because I was worried I would mess it up. I just was playing really fast because I wanted to leave and it was cold, and I thought he would resign after this move. And he played queen takes e5, and I just like didn't see that this was defended, and I'm still completely winning. Nothing changed about the evaluation, but it was such an unnecessary oversight. Like, I didn't have to give him that pawn. I could have played almost anything else. But now we lock back in and we make a mistake, apparently. I don't understand how this could be a mistake. The idea is really clear. I want to play rook e8 and play rook e2, and the only way I could see to get this done was to support it by the queen. The reason this is a mistake is because rook e1 and I don't get to play rook e8, and then queen f8 looked really stupid and I just have to go back. What was the point? But he's playing fast too, I think, at this point, so he goes rook b3 and I go rook e8, he goes queen g3 and I go rook e2, and of course rook b8 wins my queen. Not, because this is checkmate, other than the fact that he has to take check. And then who's guarding the rook on b8? Nobody. So he can't play rook b8, tactically defended. He goes rook b7, I play queen takes c5, rook b8, king g7, and now there are no more checks for my opponent. Rook b1, queen h5 with a subtle threat. h3 is sort of forced. And then the only thought behind queen f5 was that these are all semi-loose. Not really. And then my opponent played rook 8 to b7. And I went rook f2 to build up on this, and then maybe just checkmate him like that. And then my opponent hung a rook and resigned. So, good for me. But some of that game was interesting. At least part of it. I don't know. What do you people think? I call you people, but. And then that game ended at like, I want to say like 10 p.m. And then we had to go forage for food and creative bishop a6. Well, the thing is, like, how creative is bishop a6? It seemed like the most, like, chess move to me. How is that? I guess most people would be like, oh, I win the pawn back, and they would go with this. But I've played so many games against Strider, and he played this. It wasn't this exactly, but it was something like this. And so I guess I just, like, have a negative connotation, or not connotation, what's the word? Association with it. I play Accelerated Dragon, and bishop h6 is always... I assume you meant a6. Bishop a6 is always a nice move when it's a move. I mean, yeah, like, I've had games in the Catalan where I play, like, bishop h3 and also bishop a3. In those positions, it's, like, more targeting this pawn and this pawn. Oh, you do mean h6 to trade off the dark squared bishop? Isn't it? Oh, because they're normally going queenside in the Accelerated Dragon? It's been a long time for me. But anyways, that was game 3. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.